Hi everyone, in today's video I'm gonna create a serverless Python project. For this video I'm gonna use Serverless Framework, AWS Lambda function, DynamoDB and AWS API Gateway to map the HTTP request to our Lambda function. If you don't know Serverless Framework, you can watch my video explaining how to install and use it. We're gonna create a Python to-do list CRUD, and I'm gonna leave this project's link on the description so you can check the code later. So in the README file, you're gonna find all the informations about the project, all the prerequisites, dependencies, how to install it, project structure, how to deploy the service, and what are the endpoints to manage your CRUD API. So let's open this project in the VS Code. First of all, I'm gonna create a virtual environment for this Python project. So Python 3 -m venv, and I'm gonna call the virtual environment venv as well. I'm gonna hit the enter button, and okay, it's created. And now I'm gonna activate my virtual environment. Now let's install a Python library called Boto3, which is an AWS SDK to integrate with DynamoDB. So pip install Boto3. Now let's install another dependency, which is going to be serverless, in order to deploy our code later. So I'm gonna install Serverless Framework, npm install serverless. I'm gonna hit the enter button. Okay, it's done. So as I said, I'm using Serverless Framework to deploy our infrastructure and our Lambda functions, and I'm using the serverless YAML file to specify all the informations that Serverless Framework needs to know in order to deploy our project. And if you want to know more about Serverless Framework, you can check my previous video about Serverless Framework, and I show how to use Serverless Framework to deploy an application. So what I'm gonna do now is create a file to put our functions inside. So I'm gonna create a new directory called src/handler.py, and I'm gonna import a few dependencies here in the top of my file. So I'm gonna import JSON, I'm gonna import also Boto3, and from UUID I'm gonna import UUID4, and from Boto3.dynamodb.conditions I'm gonna import key, and that's it for our imports. And now I'm gonna create a variable called DynamoDB, which is going to receive Boto3 resource DynamoDB. So I'm specifying that I want to use from Boto3 Dynamo resources. So now I'm gonna create another variable called table, which is going to receive DynamoDB.table. Oh, and I'm gonna use an environment variable, so I need to import OS to access this environment variable, and I'm gonna say OS environment, and I'm gonna specify here my variable, which I'm setting here in the serverless file. So Dynamo table, my table's name, and that's it. Now what I'm gonna do is create our first function to handle our API requests, and the first one is going to be create TODO, and for this function it takes as parameters event and context. I'm gonna create a new variable here, which is going to receive our event body. So JSON loads event body. And now I'm gonna create a to-do ID, which is going to be our new to-do ID, which is going to be a string of UUID4. And now I'm gonna create our item payload, which is going to have our ID, to-do ID, our task, which is data task, and our boolean value to say if the task is completed or not. So completed, which is going to be data task. Now what I'm gonna do is call our table and execute a function called putItem to add this new to-do item. So put item, and is going to receive item equals item. So I'm inserting this new record now, and I'm gonna create a response for our function, which is going to receive a status code 201, and our body is going to be JSON dumps our new item. And now I'm gonna just return our response. Perfect. For the next one, I'm gonna create a get to do function, which is going to receive event and context as parameters, and I'm gonna get from the path parameter our to do ID. So to do ID is going to receive event path parameters, and I'm gonna get ID. Now what I'm gonna do is create a result variable to receive our table get item results. So table get item, and I'm gonna filter by our key condition ID from to do ID. Now I'm gonna check if is there some item in result, and for this condition I'm gonna create a response saying status code 200 in case of success, and our body is going to be JSON dumps result item, and else I'm gonna create another response for status code 404, which means that we didn't find this record by this ID. So I'm gonna say body JSON dumps. I'm gonna specify an error saying to do item not found. And for the last, I'm gonna return our response according to this conditional. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is create our update to do function, which is going to receive events and context, and I'm gonna get from the path parameters our ID, and also for update we are receiving a body. So I'm gonna create a variable called result, which is going to receive our table update item function result, and I'm gonna specify a few parameters here. The first one is key, which is going to receive our ID from path parameters. The next one is going to be update expression, which is going to be a set task equals T and completed equals C. Now I'm going to specify the value of T and C. So I'm going to say expression attribute values, which is going to be a dictionary of T, which is data task, and C, which is data completed. Just a comment here. And for the last one, I'm gonna specify my return values, which I want to return the updated new information. Now I'm gonna specify my response, which is going to be status code 200, and our body is gonna be JSON dumps result attributes, and I'm gonna return the response. That's great. Now I'm gonna define my last function, which is delete TODO. Receive an event in context, and I'm gonna get our ID from path parameters, and I'm gonna use table delete item function, specifying our key condition, which is by our ID, TODO ID, and I'm gonna return a response as well. So response status code 204, and that's it, and return response. Okay, so now I'm gonna deploy this function. So serverless deploy, it might take some time. When I hit this command, it's going to read all the serverless framework information here, and I'm also specifying my functions by the name and the HTTP path. So let's wait it finish. Okay, it has finished, and as you can see, we have got as output our endpoints. So let's use them to test our new functions. I'm gonna copy this post, and I'm gonna use Postman to test it, and I'm gonna define our post verb, and our body is going to be raw JSON. So I'm gonna define our task, which is going to be something like study Python, and I'm gonna hit the send button, and we've got success 201 created. Let's copy our ID. Sorry, I think we have made some mistake, and we have got as completed study Python. So let's change it in our curate to do. Okay, it's going to be always false, completed false when we are creating a new to do. So let's redeploy it. Okay, it has finished. So let's create another one. So study Serverless Framework. Let's hit the enter button, and we've got success again, and now we've completed false. So let's copy this ID and let's test our get endpoint. So I'm gonna define our URL /ID. So it should return our to-do item, and we've got success here. Now I'm gonna test our update function. So let's define the verb but, copy and paste our URL with our to-do ID, and I'm gonna reuse our body. So body raw JSON update to see the change, and let's say completed, now true. I'm gonna hit the send button, and yep, we've got success here. Let's test our get again, and we've got our update here. So for the last endpoint, let's test the delete. I just have to pass our URL with our to-do ID. Let's execute, and we've got 204 no content success. If I try get the item again, it's saying it's returning 404 not found, and our error message to do item not found. Alright, so it's working, and if you want to check, you can see the AWS services here with our 4 endpoints, our 4 functions, and we also have here in Dynamo our table, to-do list API table, and you can explore the items here. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you